You're listening to Travel Nursing and Allied Life, hosted by TravCon. Welcome to the Exhibitor Minute of the Travel Nursing and Allied Life podcast. I'm excited to bring Rich Smith from Atlas MedStaff with us this week. We have a lot to discuss. We're going to talk about where the jobs are heading this week. We're also going to talk about his recent time at SIA, Staffing Industry Analysts, and where he sees the future for staffing industry going forward. Thank you so much for joining us, Rich.
Thank you for having me. I love doing these things.
It's fantastic. I get so much from your podcast because you do a podcast as well, right? Every week. It's great. And there's so much knowledge that I see in your podcast. I really enjoy watching it. And one other thing you really do well with your podcast is you're bringing in your recruiters and letting your travelers get to know your recruiters. Mm-hmm. And it's so big in the industry that as much technology, and I wanted to talk to you about technology as well, as much as technology is coming into so many facets of the staffing industry, we still at TravCon, we still believe that you're always going to need a recruiter. You're always going to want that personal connection. And it's really cool to see you bringing them, forcing them. I don't know if they want to be on camera, but you're bringing them out so people can get to know them.
Some want to be on camera, some don't. It's a comfort level, but I've always believed. So I'm going into my 18th year in the industry, in the travel nursing industry. And I believe since day one, like this is a personal relationship between the recruiter and the travel nurse or the traveler. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're a nurse or allied health professional, or it doesn't matter. It's a personal relationship. I appreciate technology. I love technology. I live on it every single day, but I don't believe that technology will ever fully replace the recruiter or that person that helps that traveling healthcare professional along their journey, along their career.
I completely agree. You think you can manage everything until that time when you can't get into your housing or you're suddenly laid off and you don't have your position, or just things crop up all the time. And to be able to have that person you can call immediately is really cool.
Yeah, exactly. At 3:00 in the morning, trying to explain to a bot, right? If you call a number, if you don't have a recruiter that you just got stuck with an HIV positive needle and you don't know what to do, right? I mean, that's a scenario that's actually happened. And that traveler ended up leaving the recruiterless model and coming back to the recruiter because that was it. They kind of just felt left out in the cold.
Right. They had no one to go to, no one to talk to. Yeah. I always feel like TravCon's like a speed dating opportunity because you've got, this huge area where you can talk to 20, 30, 40 different recruiters, different companies, mm-hmm. and really get a sense of who you like, who gels with you. Hey, we both like hiking. We can talk about these kinds of things. So
you had some dynamic booths this year at TravCon, by the way. There were some companies that went all out and really showcased their personalities. And I came back thinking like, man, I got to step up my game. Like I need to, I think of myself as a TravCon veteran at this point, but man, there are companies out there that killed it this year.
It's really funny. The first year, you can tell a company in its first year because they came with a typical booth, a few handouts and flyers, and they get blown away. They look around and they're like, wow, I really got to step it up. And then everybody's trying to one up each other, right? We've got Wheel of Fortunes, we got mini golf going on, we got and we had, I think, Boombox and stuff going on this year. So it really has blossomed into almost like a competitive thing. And I wanted to do the most, for the last couple of years, I've wanted to do who has the most creative booth. And I just haven't gotten around to creating that. But you did something new this year. You brought, it was brilliant, a whole bunch of blow up furniture and then gave it away to all the travelers.
That was like one of the hottest topics at the end of that first day. It was like, what time do I need to be back tomorrow in order to get that blow up couch?
Really?
Absolutely. I can't take credit for it. That was your idea. You guys came up with that idea. I was just like, look, I want to do something different and fun and unique. And you took the ball and ran with that. And it was awesome. Braden and I really enjoyed the time that we spent there at the Spouse's Spot with our blow up furniture.
It was awesome. It was really cool to see you there. And then you were right next to the relaxation lounge.
Yes.
That really took off this year.
Mm-hmm.
They actually think that they want an even quieter spot because the sound bowl sessions they want quiet, silence, and same with yoga. So we're going to relocate that. Unfortunately, it won't be right next to it, but it'll be bigger and it'll be quieter, which I think they'll really appreciate. But it was very cool because you sponsored that room. And it was such a nice, appreciated spot for people to just get away from the incredible mayhem. Yeah, that was cool. Right. So you're thinking you're going to do something different next year?
Oh, I think we're going to do a lot different next year. Yeah. And we are on the verge of finalizing all of our 2022 plans right now. And one of my biggest pieces is how are we going to really evolve what we've done at TravCon over the years? Mm-hmm. So I can't wait to share those. I can't share any details with you yet, but I cannot wait to share all of those details. And we're not going to start 2 months before TravCon. We're going to start like in February talking about it. So
can we share your new role and position?
Absolutely.
Super excited that you're going to be platinum this year. One of the few exclusive platinums that we have. And the platinums, they sponsor newbie boot camp and newbie boot camp reception. And we had a ramen station this year at the newbie boot camp reception. That was so cool. So the newbies are really a special group. They're about a third of the conference. They come in and they do a full extra day on Sunday, which you can be a part of now. And we like to bring in those the experienced recruiters, and they come in at lunch and they get to chat and sort of make some connections. What can I answer for you? That kind of thing. Same at the reception. So really looking forward to having you part of the exclusive group.
I can't wait. I think the value that TravCon, that you and the TravCon committee and TravCon in general brings to traveling healthcare professionals is immense. And I for years have been just, a very small part of that. Now I can't wait to be a much larger part of that.
Fantastic. We're happy to have you. Now, you got to do something that I was very jealous about this year. I love going to SIA. So for those of you who don't know, SIA is staffing industry analysts, and those attendees are pretty much our exhibitors, all the staffing companies, the staffing executives. And so at TravCon, the travelers get to connect and network with each other, whereas at SIA, all the exhibitors still manage to network at TravCon, but they network on a different level at SIA because they've got a little bit more time to focus on what they're focused on rather than focusing on the traveler. Right. So can you give us a little rundown? You were also on a panel as well. Give us a little rundown on what it means for the traveler that you learned.
SIA, for us, it's as much as a who's who of the industry, right? Of all of us getting together and sharing ideas and sharing what's worked and what's failed, and what we could get better at, and what next year is going to look like, and those types of things. And then the larger companies, right, AMN and Cross Country and AYA, they all have like little receptions afterwards, and you can reconnect with all of them, our friends in the industry, right, and really talk through not only how this year has gone, but like I said, what next year looks like and what the following year looks like and that type of thing. And the panel I was on was specifically about travel nursing in the pandemic and what it looked like and how it's changed. And I was on there with a VP for Medical Solutions, the president of Favorite out of Kansas City, Matt, the co-founder of Trusted, and myself. And we, it really was, it was deeper than just like what the pandemic did to us and maybe how the impact on the traveling healthcare community in general, but then what's it going to look like coming out of this, and what are bill rates going to be like? What are contracts going to change? Does it change the seasonality of travel at all? And quite honestly, 50 minutes wasn't enough for us. We could have gone another hour and still.
There's so much to talk about.
There was so much to talk about. Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's a bit of a guessing game because, of course, it has been very predictable up until the last couple of years. And now it's really gone in 5 different directions, and it really could go in many directions. Did they give a sense of, I know one of the topics they were talking about, and you talked about this in your podcast as well, is the role of technology you feel is really increasing, which it has been for the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And now it's almost circling back to integrating the technology with the recruiter and the traveler. And how do you make that life easier, but still keep the personal connection?
Yeah. How do you not automate out the personal touch type of thing? Right?
Yeah.
You need the automation because it's fastest to market for all of us, right? It has become a very crowded area for jobs and for going through the interview process and then the acceptance process and then that type of thing. So how do you get in front of those hospitals quicker, faster, easier, but then still maintain that personal touch? So I think technology will have a huge role in next year and beyond. But like if you have a Discover card, I use my Discover all the time. If I were to call Discover right now, someone live answers the phone. It doesn't just run you through like, an old IVR system or whatever. So that is super important. Now I want my Discover card to give me updates like this all the time. If there's fraud, I want to see it right away. But if I need something, I want to be able to talk to a person. And that's the balance that you're looking for.
That is a good balance.
That we are looking for.
And the same thing happens in healthcare is we're going to automate as much as we can, I'm sure, but nothing takes away from that personal contact, that personal assessment. We're able to do more telehealth and whatnot, but that personal connection is huge. Now, another thing you talked about also, which I didn't realize, I knew it was a bear. I didn't realize it was a grizzly bear for companies, and that's the management of compliance. And how much, my husband recently went up to the border. He tried to cross into Canada. He's a Canadian citizen, shouldn't be a big deal, got his PCR. The PCR test that was done in San Francisco got sent to a San Diego lab, took them a day and a half to get there. And so we ended up not getting the test in time, and he couldn't get across the border. And that was a huge inconvenience. And it sounds like that's happening also with the travelers.
It's an angry grizzly bear at this point. I mean, it has not gotten any easier. In fact, it's gotten a whole lot harder. And through no fault of our own, the travelers or even hospitals in general, like the healthcare facilities aren't trying to make it harder. Its time frames have gone from, like you said, from a couple of days to now a week, or requirements have gone from a page to a page and a half. They're doing what they believe is best for their patients in the facilities. We believe we're doing what's best for our travelers going into those facilities. It unfortunately, just because of all of that, timeframes have expanded a lot. It's one of those pieces that is, I wouldn't say it's unmanageable, but it is unsustainable. And there are things that are going to have to change. And that's where a technology piece probably works its way in, where a company like Kamana, who is one of your exhibitors at TravCon, might have a leg up in some of these things. And I have nothing to do with Kamana. We use their product here. I think it's a great product, but I think they definitely have a head start in stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, you hear stories of, I still don't have my test results, They call, oh, they've been in for 2 days. That we need to kind of eliminate that kind of inefficiency, because the traveler's sitting around not able to start work. They're also not able to get paid. You are not getting paid. It's unnecessary at this point. And you'd think we'd be able to jump those hurdles a little easier.
We will figure it out, because in the end, it affects patient care too. If the nurse not on the floor affects patient care because the other nurse there is working overtime or whatever, or handling more patients than they should.
Yes.
And I think in general, we will figure out a way to make this better. Mm-hmm. It came on all at once, and now we got to drink from that fire hose and figure out how to make it a little bit easier.
So what do you think the traveler should anticipate happening in the next 6 to 12 months? Are they going to have to do more technology apps that they need to download, or?
Possibly. I think just being open in general to anything like that, where I know there's a number of larger companies that are working on either an app or some kind of either a web page that you can go to on your phone and then take photos and it turns it into a PDF and uploads it right away. I think the days of emailing sensitive documents like a social security nut card or driver's license, those days they have to be over.
They should be over.
You would think so. You would think, and we're getting there. We are getting closer and closer. Yeah. But my one piece of advice, if they want it, would be just be open to new technology. Ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, but just be open to that new technology because it will, in the end, make your life easier.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I always like hearing the window. You have your eyes on the window of all the jobs in the country, all the different specialties, different professions. Can you give us a little sense of, now we're recording this December 1st, where are the jobs happening right now? Who's opening up things? Who's really taking in the jobs right now?
In general, jobs have exploded everywhere. Now, you're going to see some of the more seasonal places like Arizona, New Mexico, Florida, Texas, the warmer states right now really needing the help because of snowbirds and that type of thing. Yes. The normal seasonality, but you're also seeing what happened when the country shut down and people just stopped going to the hospital in general. So they put off the knee replacement surgery or the minor back surgery or whatever. So OR, PACU, those types of jobs have really exploded lately. And those bill rates have caught up to CICU, ICU style bill rates.
Because they really struggled, a year ago.
Yes. Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
good to hear.
It's and that will only continue. Like, we all didn't magically get healthier. There was that, if you remember a couple of years back, there was like that thing going around on Facebook, like, oh, if I could only just stay home and eat healthy and exercise or whatever. And we got the opportunity to do that. And none of us got healthier. Like, we didn't, it was all false. None of us did that. If anything, we put off going to the doctor for minor things. And that is now hurting us and pushing all of us into the system all at the same time.
Yeah, I work ER and our volumes are definitely at pre-COVID status, and people are sicker because they've put off the dialysis, this, that, whatever. And so we know the ER and ICU, they're pretty solid. Have you heard much on the allied side, PT, OT, RT?
It took a long time for, especially PT, OT, speech like that. It took a long time for that to catch back up. And now it is on fire.
Excellent.
Oh my gosh. We don't do a lot of that, but our very good friends down the street, Fusion, and they really are just down the street here. They have told us, like, it has never been busier. It is crazy. They can't keep up.
That's good, because they were really struggling. We already know the baby boom has hit. So NICU would love to grow a third arm if they could.
Right.
And in terms of long-term care facilities, have you heard much on there?
We have generally not staffed those, but the information I'm getting is yes. And it's more on the LPN CNA side.
Okay.
So they are staffing more and more. Primetime, our friends that way. Primetime does a lot of CNA and LPNs, and the information coming out of there, those conversations we have with them, is we just can't do it fast enough. Like, normally those leads come in very, very quickly. Yeah. They can't get them quick enough.
Okay, good to know. I just talked with a cath lab nurse yesterday on a podcast that came out today, and she's crazy busy as well, because those have really picked up, those kinds of procedures. Yeah. Everything's opening up again, which is really nice. They have a huge backlog to protect against.
Right.
Thank you so much, Rich. I'm really looking forward to seeing your plans for the coming year. It's pretty exciting. Is there anything, and also your recruiters that keep popping up? I'm going to keep an eye out for that. That's great to see all of your people out there.
That's the absolute very best way to analyze an agency is the recruiters that work within that agency. And I've always believed that, and I'm going to feature them as much as I possibly can. They're all super unique, and they really care, and they have a lot to offer. And so that's the fun part of my job.
I tend to find your podcast on Facebook. Is there a different place that you prefer?
I love Spotify. Spotify has just kind of changed how they present podcasts. Like they put a lot of money into it. I consume all of my podcasts on Spotify now.
Excellent. I hear Spotify is super popular. I still like my Apple stuff, but a lot of people find ours on Spotify as well. So that's great. Awesome. So look for Atlas MedStaff on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. They're also on Facebook. You will find them at TravCon next year, looking a little different. Don't know yet how they're going to look, but they're going to be there. So thank you so much. And you take care. Having a good week.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for listening to Travel Nursing and Allied Life. You can find the full show notes below or at travcon.org. Please help us out by rating our podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.